Welcome back to the North American Challenger Series. Game 2 is just around the corner for our final contenders for tonight, Big Gods Jackals and Team Gates.
And the big story in Game 1 was Pekin Wolf, who got a huge game on Syndra going on. Initially, it starts with Auto Orange going for a pretty risky invade that gets spotted out by Wiggly, which allows Pekin Wolf to join in the collapse as well. He picks off Auto Orange, and whenever you give Syndra a kill, double buffs in lane, she's going to have a good game. And the thing that really impressed me was the fact that he didn't just, get a kill and then try and crush lane. He was out on the map trying to make moves as well. So as this 2v2 happens on the top side, he's able to collapse and get involved in that. Influence this in favor of his team as well. And when you get the Syndra going, you get the Fiora going. Turns out to be a pretty good game for them. And overall, Pekin Wolf really just smashed this entire game.
Yeah, it was the Pekin Wolf show, as this last fight of the game is also kind of all about him. At this point, Big Gods Jackals was pretty far ahead, but a massive Syndra stun is going to really be lights out for everything that Team Gates was trying to hold on to.
Right, and we see Fabi getting involved in it as well. Really was a pretty good team game, as there's that stun you were talking about. Gets a lot of members of Team Gates down, and after that, the game was basically over. A pretty definitive win for Big God Jackals in Game 1.
Yeah, and if you're going to be Team Gates, you're really hungry for your first win here. So why don't we just start off by meeting our teams for this evening. Starting on the blue side this time around, it's Big Gods Jackals. In the top lane, RF Legendary. Jungler is Wiggly. Mid lane, the pop-off himself, Pekin Wolf. In the bottom lane of Fabi and Bayon.
Why am I always on the red side?
I got the red team, you get the blue team
I'm on the blue
red
team.
side.
Hey, the blue team on the red side. All right, in the top lane, it's Alorem, jungle, Odd Orange, mid is Strumpus, bot is Vex, and support is Vincent for Team Gates.
And so far, so good for Big Gods Jackals. They need to finish 2-0 tonight because so far, every other team has gone 2-0 against Team Gates.
Right, so this is going to be one of the last teams to go 2-0 against Team Gates, hopefully. And the big thing for them, of course, as well, is the fact that RF Legendary really needs to step up and have a good performance. Right now, he has the most deaths in the NACS, and some of them have been coming on champions that you don't usually associate with, kind of getting bullied around a lot. Camille being one that he didn't have a great game on.
And Team Gates is going to do everything they can to try to stop that from happening because they need a win tonight because, well, already they've lost game number 1. They don't have very many chances left to win.
Right. If they don't win the next game, it's basically guaranteed that they miss the playoffs. This is one of their last chances to get in. If they start falling behind even further, it's pretty much donezo. So this is their last chance. And they're a pretty reactive team. And it'd be very nice to see them step up and start making some plays of their own. And I mean, it looked like maybe that was what Odd Orange was trying to do early in the game, but it just didn't pan out for them.
We usually tend to say that whereas everybody in the challenger scene has really kind of come together, become more cohesive with their map play, Team Gates, with a team full of rookies, is still a little bit in that solo queue mindset where everybody's either too afraid to make something happen and they want to kind of protect themselves so they can wind up going big later on in the game, and they wind up just playing way too reactively to have anything happen for themselves.
Right, so Big God Jackals banning away Jace and Camille so far. Looks like they don't want to have to deal with any of that. As actually, it's a little backwards for me on the screen there. It's Team Gates banning away Camille and Jace.
Oh, it is going to be, it looks like, Big Gods Jackals on the red side. They said they were just on the blue side, so that makes sense. It's just that the team logos themselves have gotten us confused. But Team Gates banning away the Camille, which is very interesting because both of these teams actually have shown that they don't necessarily want to deal with the Camille being played on the other side. RF Legendary did have a Camille game, but it was not that impressive.
Right, but I don't think he totally shy away from the pick again. And if Team Gates doesn't want to first pick it, I'm sure RF Legendary would be totally happy to grab it first rotation there. So of course they ban away on blue side, the Varus another ban, and on the flip side, Big God Jackals are mostly doing the OP bans. They did Rengar and LeBlanc so far, but with the Camille already banned away, we need to see what they end up doing for their last ban here.
Ryze has potential, Kha'Zix has the potential if Odd Orange may be able to snatch that one up. He's been fairly content to pick Lee Sin almost every single game that it's been available, which is an okay matchup into the Kha'Zix. Usually it's a slightly Kha'Zix favored matchup. I know we've talked about this at length on the University League of Legends broadcast, where usually whoever gets the first jump on that champion has the favorable matchup. The Zyra being banned out means that we may get a chance to see it, and they are hovering it right now.
Right, so it looks like Team Gates will grab the Kha'Zix for Odd Orange. Like we said, it's basically, a lot of people consider it kind of be the fourth OP in a sense, where it's what most people will grab on the first pick blue side. It tends to win a lot of games. It doesn't have many jungle losing matchups, even against the Rengar. Directly one-on-one, though, Rengar does have a little bit better playmaking. So Kha'Zix going over first. Looks like Big God Jackals might have been setting themselves up for an early Malzahar pick with that Zyra last ban. We'll need to see what they go here. The Varus has already been banned away, so it's just Jhin and Ashe left for the utility AD carries.
Yeah, so let's see what they wind up prioritizing. Fabi himself has shown to be still a big force to be reckoned with. He's been known for when he was in NALCS, those utility AD carries were his playstyle. It's why he was brought into the NALCS, but he did bust out a Lucian, so if they do pinch that AD carry pool, he still has some things available to himself. However, Bayano seems to be favoring the Malzahar support you mentioned, the indication of the Zyra ban. Looks like they are going to pick up that support.
Right, and now we'll need to see what they grab for their next pick. There's a lot of things available. We talked about the Rise. Since it wasn't banned out, this could be the next thing that they grab.
Yep.
Instead, hovering the Jhin, they'll end up grabbing that one. Obviously, Fabi has a little bit of a bias in liking to play that one. We saw it in game 1 as well, had a decent game on that. So they have their bot lane locked in already. It's up to Team Gates now to decide if they want to match that.
It's a very punishing bottom lane as well. When you're Team Gates and you're not really getting a lot of advantages in the game, mainly because A, you're not willing to make plays, and B, your lane phase is a little bit of a vulnerable point for your team. Being a giant bully lane like that Malzahar and Jhin combination, you have the double lockdown, you have very long range harassment, you have the void lanes you have to deal with. Very powerful pickup for Big God's Jackals, but Team Gates, they got themselves a power pick lineup. The Kha'Zix been locked in, the Rise has been locked in, so they have these tools, but can they use them properly?
I mean, that's the concern, because Rise, as strong as he is in lane, he's at his best when you're making coordinated team plays with him. And Team Gates is a team that has struggled to make plays like that happen. So maybe the Rise is not the best pick for them overall, but they do grab it away, because if you don't grab it, who knows, maybe Big God Jackals grabs that one as well. So we'll need to see. They do end up taking the Ashe as well. So now Big God Jackals have a choice to make. Do they match the jungle pick, or do they match the mid lane pick?
Well, that is a choice that they have to see here. Mid lane pool originally is usually pinched in champions like when you're against Team Gates. We've seen Strampus be relegated to playing stuff like the Azir more frequently. He did wind up getting his hands on Corki in the last game, so it may not be a priority here from Big God's Jackals, although, as I say that, Pika Move is like, you know what? I also play a very mean Corki. We've seen him do nasty things against E United and Goldcoin United while playing that champion, and that's going to be the priority for Big.
Right, so the two offsets that we have now is the jungle for Big God Jackals has not been taken, whereas on the flip side, Team Gates have not taken a support yet. So you can expect to see those things target a little bit. First ban coming in for Big God Jackals is the Misfortune. Like we just said, kind of targeting that support pool a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it is going to be the jungle pool that gets pinched from the side of Team Gates. They already have one of the more powerful pickups in the Kha'Zix. It looks like they're going to be pinching the top lane pool, however. Not wanting to give RF Legendary something with carry potential. The Jace has already been banned out. Camille's gone, and they decided to go with Fiora as well.
I mean, that's one thing you can say about the fact that RF Legendary has a ton of deaths in the NACS is because he is playing squishier champions. He is playing a lot of carries, and those tend to die easier. And a lot of people tend to focus those when you pick them. They want to stop them from getting off the ground. So it's not too much of a surprise to see if you're primarily playing those kind of carry champions to die a lot, but most in the NACS is a little much.
Well, the Ivern and the Lulu are going to be the last bans that come through for either team in this pick and ban phase. So as you mentioned, support pool being pinched by Big God's Jackals. A little bit of attack on two different fronts. The top and jungle pool have been pinched from Team Gates. But that leaves now Big able to take whatever jungler they want, whatever top laner they want. They can force the tank versus tank matchup in the top lane, which it looks like they will pick the stronger of the tanks with the Maokai.
Right, and Maokai, like we mentioned before many times, pretty much the OP tank. This is the first one that usually gets taken in games, and so no surprise to see that one come in. The Karma, the strongest support left available, essentially. No surprise to see that one taken by Team Gates either. Here's the first choice that they have to make. Do they go with the expected Shen/Nautilus? They go most likely with the Nautilus, it looks like, given that they're hovering it. That one goes in as well. Pretty quick pick and ban phase now.
Yeah, both of these teams, as they get down into the second pick phase, kind of know exactly what they're looking for. I wouldn't be surprised to potentially see Lee Sin has been left on the table. The Ivern was banned out instead. Could see that being picked up by Big God's Jackals if Wiggly's up to the task of playing that. Rek'Sai still on the table. We've seen that being picked into the Kha'Zix very frequently. But Team Gates altogether, I mean, you look at that composition, and in a lot of these teams' hands, you kind of say something like, hey, this is a very powerful kind of composition. There's no way the Mordecai is getting locked in. They're not ignoring.
Man can dream.
I mean,
instead we get Rek'Sai. Very fun and interesting champion. Looking forward to what it can do on the Rift. Haven't seen too much of it recently.
We did see it earlier today, so
I was
think
being
you're
sarcastic, Tom. Yes, I am.
That's all right. I personally like the Rek'Sai pickup. I think it's very interesting.
I think it's very good. I think
Yes.
I like the Rek'Sai pick there. I mean, your other options are Lee Sin. You could go with that given the fact that you already have a pretty good front line with Maokai. They had whatever they really wanted to go with here. Rek'Sai just generally doesn't get bullied quite as hard as the Lee Sin, because the Kha'Zix can really blow up a Lee Sin if he's caught out at all. So I don't hate the Rek'Sai pick. I think it was a good choice there.
Yeah, and like I was mentioning before, if you have Team Gates, team composition, Rise, Nautilus, Kha'Zix, Karma, Ashe, really, really solid picks coming out for them. But we haven't really been able to see them kind of use these tools very effectively so far in these games.
Right. I mean, if you're just looking purely at champions, I think I would say that I do prefer Team Gate's draft overall. They have a lot of initiation, a lot of CC, good damage split. They have an assassin that can reset and strong lanes everywhere. So overall, you would look at that comp and say, that's a great comp. But they are not the favorites coming to this game. And when we talk about how you do need slightly better coordination to make good use of a Rise, that does make it a little less powerful of a pick when you don't get those great realm warps off.
0 wins so far in the Challenger Series for Team Gates, as Vex may get tagged with a little bit of damage from Fabi, as the 280 carries wind up trading a couple of blows early on in the stage. And Bayano getting aggressive, winds up popping the exhaust. The Voidlings are going to come out. They force a flash out of Vex as the crit shot comes in from Fabi. The exhaust being traded as well. Very aggressive level 1.
Yeah, and a good summoner trade overall. You would happily give away your exhaust generally for a flash. The one thing that can happen sometimes when this does happen is that the team that traded the summoner of the exhaust tends to think that, oh, we forced the flash out, we're stronger, but in a straight fight, you're actually weaker because flash isn't as strong as a combat summoner. So sometimes teams overextend a little bit down the exhaust, especially because Vex is able to get the reset off, heal up, head back to lane. So Fabi not doing so, sitting more around half health, ends up chewing on a pot there. Biscuit. It would be very uncomfortable.
Painful.
Chew on a glass jar.
That's why the pots are red, I guess.
It's blood or what?
I guess at that point, if you're
that's why you're healing up as well. You're like a vampire.
I don't know. Maybe, I guess that's how Vladimir heals. But we do see on the bottom side of the map, while these junglers are starting off, Fabi and Bayano doing the cheeky little level 1 buff steal with the Voidlings tanking up the buff. Jin having his crit shot loaded and ready with a red buff. We already mentioned they burned the flash from Ashe. Double exhaust was used, so there's no exhaust advantage on the bottom side of the map, and this could be, once again, Fabi getting a bully lane against one of those Challenger 80 carries that he wanted to play against in the NACS.
Right, and you know, the red buff is going to be a huge advantage there. We talked about potentially being down the combat summoner. I mean, obviously, Vincent also burned his exhaust. I think I missed that one initially, so excuse me for misspeaking.
He used it on the crit shot, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Ashe wound up burning her flash, the exhaust came out, they tried to trade, but not enough with an 80 carry already using their flash to get out of there. Not enough already.
Early too. Another benefit from grabbing that. Get to level up a little bit faster. Rek'Sai also hovering around the bot side here, getting the Scuttle Crab early, helping his team be able to play aggressive if they choose to in that bot lane, just getting that little extra vision advantage.
And it goes, there's a buff, Scuttle Crab buff. Very, very early vision secured for Fabi and Bayano, so they continue to be aggressive. Odd Orange in the meantime. Gonna make his way up towards the top side. It looks like he might be looping around that top side. Maokai has pushed up a little bit aggressively. RF Legendary still has both of his summoner spells available. Odd Orange might be looking to get a gank on here. Alorum's gonna walk up, gets the Nautilus passive stun down. Odd Orange is gonna get Twisted Advance too. Has a leap available still. The flash wave from RF Legendary, but the dredge line from Alorum misses right there. Flash
Good gank overall by the Odd Orange. You think that they probably could have got a kill there if they played it a little more aggressively. Ultimately, they are unable to do so. The hook not able to provide any additional CC or pull him back in range. So RF Legendary's got to be pretty happy. I mean, that could have gone much worse. Overall, not too bad, as now we see on the side of Big God Jackals going for an extremely early dragon. They're able to do so with the help of these Voidlings, able to take up a couple hits as well as deal quite a bit of damage.
I know a couple weeks ago, Freakin' Zyrene did a little Malzahar special update on what he's been doing in the support position for a while. I think one of the things that they said was a level 3 dragon.
Yeah, level 3 dragon, level 1 red buff steal.
That was him.
The Malzahar cheese is in full effect this game.
And that means that Big God's Jackals have gotten the first dragon of the game for themselves. The Cloud Dragon, so it's not necessarily one you normally want to take early on. But with that, we'll give way to an Ocean Dragon coming up next. So Big God's Jackals already making moves on the map, already with a slight gold advantage. Just a couple of hundred, but mainly just off the fact that this lane phase has been kind of going their way, minus that flash blow in the top.
Right, and we see that they have a team that is fairly happy to play things relatively slow. I mean, the Rek'Sai Maokai can turn a gank, I guess, on the top side, but other than that, it's not great in the mid lane. Bot lane doesn't have any setup CC for the Rek'Sai unless they're... Oh, as we see him actually go into Odd Orange, who was busy recalling. They flash right in, but now Wiggly's overextended. He's going to get focused down.
Yeah, Wiggly. Ooh, he flashes out. Strumpus not going to be able to finish that kill off. Peek and Wolf in the meantime trading back a couple of auto attacks worth of damage. Another one gets away from Team Gates.
Almost that time. Unfortunately, Wiggly is going to be able to get out. It was a very aggressive play to go for overall, and I got to say, it was well reacted to by Team Gates. Strumpus flashing in to help defend Auto Orange as fast as he could. Just not quite able for either team to get the last hit needed to get the kills.
Unfortunately for the side of Team Gates, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Hand grenades will just explode.
I'm thinking of it. I've heard the same before, but I wanted to contradict you this time. I just couldn't think of an example fast enough.
No, it's because that's the way it goes. And in League of Legends, almost does not always convert into a kill, unless maybe you have Ignite or Deathfire Touch. But Fabi's the only one that may potentially have that available to him in this game, as he continues to kind of pressure out this bottom lane. We mentioned earlier he got the red buff to bully around the Challenger AD carry of Vex, the so-called last pick of the NA Scouting Grounds draft, but we've heard from Fabi already. He wants to go up against these NA Challenger scene AD carries. He wants to show that he's just that much better than them. He didn't want to play against Freeze. He didn't want to play against Mad Life, but when it comes to these matches against Shinon, Rakara, and Vex in this instance here, he has shown that that experience does matter.
Right, he's able to get a very nice back off where he's getting his Shiv, whereas on the flip side, Ash is stuck just getting a BF sword. She initially went Caulfield, sold that back, and said, no, I'm going to go with the pickaxe.
Yeah, that's the feels bad buy.
Yeah, you want to get that BF sword every time you get that first recall off, but she was under pressure. Fabi able to use the red buff to get a CS lead, comes back, already got his...
Ooh, an Alarm.
Ooh, Alarm might go for the solo kill into RF Legendary.
Aggressive.
Still got no flash.
Depth charge. As soon as he hits level 6, RF Legendary has yet to hit that himself. Dredgeline comes out underneath the tower. RF Legendary is going to lock him with the Twisted Advance. Alarm, can he get a trade kill? The knockup from Rek'Sai denies him that. First blood to Big.
And the level up might have been just exactly what he needed to survive, because there were a couple last minion autos coming at RF Legendary. Ultimately, is able to stay alive. Unfortunate dive there by Alorum. It looked like it was going to work out, but just a little too greedy.
Unlucky for Alorum. It was really good to go in on RF as soon as he hit level 6. Pops at ultimate, knows he has the advantage. No, there's no flash right there. Just not enough damage to take him down. Thinks he get the dive. Gets turned around upon.
And it could get worse from Team Gates from here, because Alorum's going to end up TPing back to lane to catch that farm, as we're going to take another look at exactly what happened here. Alorum hitting 6 with the minion wave helping him out. He's going to open up onto RF Legendary. He's getting those autos in. It looked like he could have gotten a little more aggressive initially, but keeps playing these trades relatively slow.
Oh, he goes to put the ward down to see if the jungler is there before going in, but Rek'Sai's on the other side.
That's what's tricky about Rek'Sai, coming over walls and stuff like that. So there, the hook hits, well done. RF Legendary also plays this pretty well, gets the passive to get his health back, and there you see the level up right there being needed to keep him alive. He actually probably would have gone down to those minions if he did not get that. The last minion dying gave him the experience he needed.
So close, yet so far away. Team Gates loses the opportunity for first blood, gives it up themselves, and that's a matchup where RF Legendary had his flash burned early on, almost goes down there, was at a CS disadvantage, gets a much needed assist, goes back, picks up a double door ends ring, his corrupting potion, and a ruby crystal, which matches him equally in items against his lane opponent that did have a CS advantage, is now dwindling.
Right, and like I said, the big problem with this, of course, is the fact that Alorum did TP back top, whereas RF Legendary walked. So if any fights, start breaking out around the bot lane, or if Big God Jackals just decide to head down there and force around it, then they're going to have the man advantage. And we see they're thinking about doing something. We see Wiggly and Pekin Wolf grouped up in the bot river.
No, Dragon not available for about a minute still. Big God's Jackals did get that first Cloud Drake extremely early. Ocean Drake will be the next one that spawns, and it looks like that whether or not they want to actually go for that, or whether or not they're just posturing to try to force something on the bottom lane, we will never know, because everybody seems to have backed away from that side of the map. Biano and Fabi, but Fabi is level 6. Biano not yet hitting that for himself quite yet. On the opposite side, Vex has just hit level 6 and gotten his Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so I thought there was a little bit of a window of opportunity. We could have had a Curtain Call and a Nether Grasp, but the different timings due to the fact that Fabi had gotten that red buff early on and had the experience advantage of kind of throwing off my calculations in that bottom lane, and there was no threat of an all-in.
Right, and Corky now has picked up the package as well. This is a huge power spike for Big God Jackals with the TP advantage, level 6s, and the package coming in. What can they get off the back of this? They're going to try and get Auto Orange caught out in his jungle.
Yeah, he's going to get knocked up by Wiggly. Auto Orange, no mana available either, so he is going to have to just walk that one out. Biano and Fabi have come around the backside as well. They're zoning out Team Gates from this bottom side tower. Ash she's still stuck under there, though. This could potentially be bad. The package is here. Rek'Sai is here. 4 members from the side of Big God's Jackals, but it looks like they may back away. They might be trying to go for the Ocean Drake instead, but Pekin Wolf Gonna be content just taking his package and moseying on the mid lane.
Right, looks like they're going to call off this play. They did have a ward in place, but Team Gates dropped a pink ward to clear it, so ultimately there's not a great TP spot available for RF Legendary to join into this fight. And looks like they're just going to have to settle for the Ocean Drake. Not quite as big of a lead as you'd really want, given the huge advantage that they have right now.
Well, it's your second dragon of the game, and we're only about 10 minutes in, so it's not the worst thing in the world if you're Big God Jackals either. Double dragon control already at 10 minutes means that you're going to be starting to stack those up extremely early. There's a Mountain Drake that's going to be following after that, but Fabi thinks he can open up here with the curtain call. As soon as the dragon went down, there's a flash forward and the chain of the Nethergrass going down onto Biana, but it's immediately stopped up. Vex does wind up going down though as RF Legendary utilizes that teleport of his. That advantage you called out earlier does convert into a kill.
Right, not the cleanest of engages, and ultimately looks like they're not going to be able to grab too much off of it. The rest of Team Gates moving down to protect this outer turret as RF Legendary is going to have to recall and head back topside. Glad to see that they were able to force a play with it, but would have been nice to get an objective off the back of it as well.
Well, they got a dragon. They didn't get a tower. That's the biggest part here, is that first tower blood is still available on the map. Alorum is whirling away on the top tower, but being a big, beefy Nautilus, he does not take towers the fastest. That one is still rather healthy. On the flip side of the map, Pekin Wolf does wind up getting his blue after this dragon take here. They open up with the curtain call extremely early, and this is a really good setup, though, after the dragon.
Right, and we see, unfortunately,
the arrow.
The arrow comes in and interrupts the Malzahar ult right away. Honestly, not sure they would have been able to get too much else, even if they chose a different target there. One kill looked like that was all they were going to be able to get no matter what. So just not the greatest force there could have been. And obviously, props to Team Gates for being able to hold off on that initial dive that there might have been when they were initially wrapping around the turret. They backed off, and then they dropped a pink ward to clear out a better TP ward spot. So overall, well played by Team Gates.
Yeah, minimizing the amount of damage that could potentially have happened from that play, as they are still at a slight disadvantage, but Alorum here has Odd Orange coming in. They wind up trying to pop up RF Legendary, has used the depth charge, the dredge line to root him back in. RF Legendary's Vengeful Maelstrom will not keep him alive, and despite having an Aegis, he goes down.
Right. RF Legendary getting picked on a little bit here, down 20 CS already now. The turret is getting quite low. Strumpus rotates up as well to make sure that they can try and drop this one for first circle, but Corki is coming in as well. Pekin Wolf wants to be able to hold this turret. Don't know if they're going to be able to do so.
He's taking pot shots away at Strumpus, but he does want to get locked up by the dredge line. The Rune Prison comes out as well. Has to burn his own cleanse to get out of there. A flash away from Wiggly as well, and it will be Team Gates getting first tower blood.
Unfortunately, they're still so far behind that doesn't actually get them the lead. It just ties it up, but you got to start somewhere, and that's a good closing in on the gold gap.
And they do keep that bottom lane tower alive despite some pressure coming out from Fabi and Biano. They have about a 30 CS advantage in that bottom lane matchup, but they haven't really converted it into a lot of tower damage. It's minimized by the 30 CS advantage, though, that Alorum has been able to get over RF Legendary in that top lane.
And the Aegis first rush is basically saying that you're not trying to actually win lane. Generally, you see a Spectre's Cal come out right away to deal with the Nautilus. That's what people were talking about before when we interviewed, I believe it was Brandini about it.
Yep.
You know, as soon as you get that cowl, you get your first couple levels in, you're able to match the Nautilus, and he can't really bully you around anymore. But with the Aegis Rush build, it's not as strong as an individual tank item, as well as the fact that Odd Orange made a visit up there. So Team Gates identifying a weak point in Big God Jackal's team and trying to exploit it as hard as they can.
Well, one of the things the Aegis can turn into is the Banner of Command, which we've seen some Maokai's getting, although this is the double CC long-range snipe combination that Big God's Jackal's bottom lane has, although it does not convert into a kill on the Vincent. Actually, Biano winds up pretty worse to the wear in that trade as well.
Would have been pretty nice to be able to just kill one or force him out of lane and then take the turret, but good job by Team Gates standing the ground, not actually losing that trade too hard.
There's been a decent amount of focus on this bottom side of the map. Previous matches, we've seen that Big Gods has liked to play around the bottom side of the map. Oftentimes, they do sacrifice RF Legendary to a couple of different things. To their deficit in this game as they've given up First Blood Tower Gold in that top lane, but they do like playing around Fabi in that bottom side of the map. His LCS experience makes it the strong side, as Pekin Wolf in the mid lane had an advantage in game number 1, maybe trying to force that a little bit here with Wiggly coming to help him out, but is going to be spotted out by Strumpus.
Gold lead even at 14 minutes into the game.
To be fair, this may be one of the best early games we've seen out of Team Gates.
Right, I mean, we talked about how we wanted to see them play a little bit more proactively. They have been forcing around the top side, as well as keeping up their kind of reactive play style when they were down the TP advantage. So a pretty solid game out of them so far. The big thing now is that Alorum has that lead. He needs to find a way to continue to use it. So whether that means roaming mid a little bit like he's doing now and trying to get a pick off on the Corki, or being able to get a TP flank off on the bot side after pushing in a top wave, there's a couple of plays that he can be looking for, but he needs to actually start pulling the trigger on some of them, as the mid roam does not look like it's going to work out this time.
Well, Pekin Wolf has his package available. Did wind up dodging out from Odd Orange, popping his own Void Assault to go invisible in that bottom side of the map. Now Pekin Wolf is joined up with the rest of his Big Gods Jackals crew, trying to push down this bottom lane tower that has taken a bit of poke and prodding damage. A flash away from Fabi as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow gets used out by Vex. The Realm Warp being channeled in by Ryze as well. Stomp is going to come in as well as Alorium winds up coming in with the teleport. The response is there from RF Legendary, but they've already caught into Bayano. He's going to wind up going down to Strompus, and now Big Gods Jackals, they got to scatter. Pekin Wolf is going over the wall. He will end up picking up Odd Orange on the backside of the fight, but RF Legendary is getting locked up, and he will go down for a double kill over to Strompus. The curtain call is out. The last shots will fall, and a double kill goes over to Corki. Both mid laners picking up all the kills. There's a triple kill comes in for Pekin Wolf. Another missile snipe picks that one up. The last flourish from Jin will not wind up landing onto Vex, as Wiggly now picks up a kill onto Alorum as Team Gates tries to get Pekin Wolf. They do not, and they go down.
Right, ends up just being a 4 for 2, I believe that was, as Big God Jackals were able to turn that fight around as Team Gates overextended a little bit too far trying to finish off RF Legendary. They end up under the turret, and Corki and Jin are able to start sniping people out with their long-range ultimates.
That was just maybe a little bit too gutsy from Team Gates. It started out very well. They identified that Big Gods Jackals were coming down for this fight. They wanted to turn it around, and they were able to start off by picking up a kill.
Right, I mean, the play as a whole was a well-executed play. Unfortunately, the Ash Arrow missed, which allows Fabi to get out alive. If that hits, obviously, Alorum comes to the backside, continues to CC him. Kha'Zix got caught off trying to collapse on the play, so Odd Orange goes down to Pekin Wolf early, and then here's this overextension that we were talking about. The Corki AoE damage with the Jin snipes coming in, able to get the team extremely low, which gives Pekin Wolf the ability to keep chasing down. And that last ultimate there, able to finish off Karma before Alorum tries to make the turn play under the turret where he hits a hook onto Pekin Wolf, but it's just too little, as once again a member of Big God Jackals is able to level up and get away. It seems like those level ups are just unfair.
The unseen level up is the deadliest. And the flash forward from Alarm, he flashed to try to get that last auto attack after the cleanse was used by Corki. The same exact time, while that replay was going on, we saw in the bottom corner, Big Gods Jackals picked up their third dragon of the game. They got a cloud, an ocean, and a mountain. Another ocean will be the next one to spawn. We're not even at 20 minutes yet, and they've gotten 3 dragons for themselves, so they're already kind of setting up their late game insurance plan of the Elder Dragon burn buff, the aspect of the dragon.
I'm kind of upset that you can't get all 4 dragons and say gotta catch them all and stuff like that. You can't make those puns because the game just only spawns 3 types of dragon.
No, it depends. See, there's a red version and a blue version of the map, and every side has different kinds of dragons every game, because they swap sides in the best of 2 and the best of 3.
You're not making any sense.
There's a red and blue version of Pokemon.
Right, but I want to catch them all.
Yeah, and you had to trade back and forth.
Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, you're making a little bit more sense
Yeah,
now.
you couldn't get them all from one version, then you wouldn't be able to buy the other one.
All right.
It's a marketing strategy, Mark. Come on. Get your head in the game.
I got you. That would be better if it was true that you were guaranteed to get different dragons every time.
It would be, but
on the blue side, you could get 3 ocean dragons or something like we saw in the last game.
And that's not the worst thing in the world, especially when you get the Elder Dragon, you just start regenerating like you're standing in Fountain. But still not quite at that point in this game. We're only 18.5 minutes in, and Big Gods Jackals already have some advantages. Team Gates, though, have been trying to make things happen. They just haven't been able to make them happen as effectively as they have wanted to. And you still got to give them credit for at least trying at this point. They are not just kind of laying down like they did against Tempo Storm in Game 2 last week.
Right. It's a step in the right direction now that they've been pulling the trigger on a couple plays. The top play was a good one. They tried to force that bot play, ultimately not able to get anything off of it, aside for 2 kills, but it gets turned back around. So slight overextension by them there. And now Big God Jackals have about 2,000 gold lead. They're going to be trying to get this second outer turret down. Pekin Wolf picks that one up, able to get the solo gold on it. He's going to be a pretty scary threat now at 3-0-1 on the Corki. And we know what happens when the Corki gets too fed. Those rockets start hurting a lot.
We've seen Pekin Wolf do it himself when the Corki gets fed. Last week, we saw him go extremely large on the Corki with like a 7-1-2 or something like that record. Just absolutely decimating the opposition. And I mean, Pekin Wolf has really been a cornerstone for Big Gods Jackals. This guy's been in the Challenger scene for a very long time, was previously on Team Coast. He's kind of floated around different teams from time to time. game number 1 against Team Gates, he snowballed an advantage not just in his lane, but across the entire map. Was able to help close it out, especially with that 4-man stun in the last team fight on Syndra. This time around, he's got his Corki back again. It's been a consistent pick for him. 3-0-1.
And he's always been a player who was really good on poke champions. His Xerath was one that people always talked about.
Right.
Corki being a champion similar to that. And it's been looking very good for him so far in the Challenger Series. Going to see if he can take over this game for Big God Jackals and carry him to yet another win.
Well, the poke coming out from the side of Big God's Jackals in addition to the Jhin, the Corki. They have a decent amount of siege potential just coming out from those two. Package maybe when we see something else happening from the side of Big God's Jackals. The Dragon could also be the next point of contention. Although that one's not going to be up for a couple of minutes at this point. But Big God's Jackals have been able to play kind of the objective fighting game extremely well, especially when it's on the bottom side of the map. We already talked about the fact that Peekawoof is a big cornerstone for their team, but Fabi's the one they always love to play around as well.
Yeah, and they are being forced to group up a little bit mid here by Team Gates. But it doesn't look like they're going to stick to it as we have Corki split pushing. Basically, well, I assume will be for the rest of the game. He's so strong, it's very hard to match him in the 1v1. He's not a great dive champion, but he can kind of take the turret in front of you if he lands some of his poke to force you out of there. As you see him rotating mid. Oh, God.
Your favorite use of the package.
The Challenger packages. Unfortunate, but to be fair, I'd rather see them not make a horrible dive than just, you know, use it going mid, something like that.
I personally would love to see them make a horrible dive because those are really, really fun to watch. I mean, maybe that's just me when I play Corki.
Yeah. Big God Jackals are having a little bit of trouble forcing down this last outer turret. They're not quite pulling Team Gates around the map the way you really need to when you have a lead. It's not a huge lead, of course, about 2,500 gold, but you should be getting deep vision. And we see on the bot side, they basically have no control over there. In the top side, there's still a lot of wards on the side of Team Gates. So Big God Jackals need to do a much better job. As we see, they go for the flash engage onto Strumpus. He's going to get taken down.
Yeah, they pulled the trigger. They wind up eviscerating the Rise, who's the one with a lot of the kills on the side of Team Gates. The curtain call comes out as well. Vex has to flash and run away from that one. He also popped his own heal. That's how they're going to take that tower down.
Shut me up. I was talking about how they should be getting vision control. They can just get a flash engage off. That works too. So they're able to grab the mid-outer turret, pick that one off, and continue to grow their lead.
Why control just vision when you can control the man advantage on the map too? Just pick out the Rise. And that's the one they wanted to pick out too, because Strumpus was 2-0-1 at that point. Now, I'm sorry, 2-1-0. Now 2-2-0 has a large majority of the kills of the 3 that Team Gates has, and that's going to be the guy that needs time to kind of scale up. So you take him out of the equation, take him off the map for a little bit. It's going to take him longer to scale.
And now with Dragon coming up in the next 5 seconds, Big God Jackals have got their reset off. They're heading down there. Going to be looking to pick up their next Ocean Drake because they always wanted another one.
It's true. I've actually heard them say before that we love Ocean Drakes.
They're on record?
I have not. I made that one up.
I didn't believe you for a second. As we see Team Gates kind of hovering around there, maybe hoping to get a pick, but not really committing to it too hard. Seems like they're a little hesitant to pull the trigger again.
Well, in Champions League, we've proposed the question of Team Gates have a very strong team comp. They have the tools. Can they use them? They've tried to use them, but they haven't been using them effectively. So they know what these champions can do, but they haven't really been able to kind of couple them together to get these advantages. They've lost out on that Dragon. They're trying to respond by taking this mid lane tower, but Big God's Jackals off the rotation from the Dragon are going to slow them down. Curtain call has been popped. Alarm is going to block up those last shots so Vincent stays alive, but that's going to be Team Cage just kind of conceding a Dragon for not much.
I do like the decision there by Big God Jackals, not going too hard. I know it can be a little easy to see the Karma get low and get a little bloodthirsty and try and finish her off, but they did have a big wave coming in the top side, so they just scared them off the turret, and then Corki roams up there to pick up that wave. Honestly, that farm is so big and the XP is so important, and you could say it's more beneficial to get that than the kill, so don't hate seeing that, as well as the fact that Maokai gets to go back down bottom and deal with that wave as well.
Maokai's got a Sunfire Cape and then a Banner of Command for himself, so he's going to be happy little tree, just content to push out that bottom lane against the Nautilus. As you did mention before, once you wind up building up a little bit of magic resistance, a little bit of HP, the tides tend to turn in favor of the Maokai in that kind of tank versus tank matchup where nobody really wants to killing each other, but the Maokai will eventually outlive the Nautilus if the trade were to go on for all time, whereas the rest of the sides from Big God Jackals already having advantages. 50 CS and a 3-0-2 Corki has gotten his Infinity Edge after picking up a Hex Drinker and his finished Trinity Force. Fabi himself has gotten a little bit more lethal with that Edge of Night and Ghostblade, an additional serrated Dirk in his inventory could signal going for the last lethal item in his build, which would be a Duskblade of Drakthar.
Don't let Freak see that build. Peek and Wolf.
Oh, the Infinity Edge?
Yeah, he hates the Infinity Edge second. Big believer in Zeal, maybe even finishing the Rapid Fire Cannon.
Well, he did want to go in the Hex Drinker first. Infinity Edge is... You don't really crit on Corki, because you're firing rockets. You don't really auto-attack that much.
I mean, you should still be weaving some auto attacks in. I mean, you're going to tell me you're not going to hit that Nautilus standing in front of you?
That's very true. If something's in front of me as a Corki, I will just auto-attack it, but... I mean...
Look, you could be critting this turret right now.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I know.
Unless you're Jhin. They do have Jhin.
True that.
I mean, the Infinity Edge is also very effective, just the fact that if you're that far ahead, it's the best item you can buy worth that much money. As Strumpus walks into a dark, scary jungle, finds the entire enemy team.
And that's going to be the easy pickoff that I was talking about that you can get when you start getting vision control. Enemy team doesn't know where you are. Oops, there's a Malzahar. You go down pretty quickly. And now we see they're able to grab the top inner turret. They're going to keep going. Doesn't look like Team Gates is quite in position to defend this push.
No, not quite. Big God's Jackals going to be going in onto the inhibitor tower, the first one of the game at 25 minutes, being pressured down. Team Gates, man down. Their gates are breached as that inhibitor tower will fall. They're trying to pursue and give chase onto Big God's Jackals. They know that Fabi's actually in the mid lane, pinging him down. You know he's coming around the side. There was a brief moment of time where there was a 4v4 situation, but Team Gates have kind of just fallen back into their shell now. They tried to make plays happen in the earlier stages of the game, but they haven't really been able to make them happen. Last thing they tried to do was move up and put pressure on that mid lane tower, and even then, that was just a map movement that they've shied away from at this point.
Right, and I think you can look for a couple opportunities, like maybe moving the Rise down to fight the Maokai with the help of Nautilus or something, using the Realm Warp. Instead, they've just been getting dragged around the map, and once we saw Big God Jackals finally get control of that topside vision, they were finally able to get a pick off, and I expect them to keep doing these kinds of plays now, though they did not reset with that many control wards. I'm a little disappointed. Want to see more control wards in the inventory because there are a lot of wards in the top river for Team Gates.
Well, Fabi and Bayano got you covered. Fabi's got 2 for himself. Bayano has what looks like 1 in his own inventory, although Corrupting Potion's still in the inventory of the solo laners, so they're not going to be able to buy wards for themselves. On the side of Team Gates, they've gone back, picked up a couple of control wards for themselves. They got at least 3 across 3 of their 5 members, as Wiggly utilizing that Rek'Sai farm alarm to get himself back into position to contest his Baron vision. Look, he's picked up some control wards for himself as well. Looks like Big God's Jackals, they know that that top side is going to be pushing into an exposed inhibitor. They've taken down all the outer towers. Maokai pushing in the bottom lane. They could threaten to go for this Baron. Try to pick people out like Alorum there. Has to burn his own flash. Even got the Corki package, so if they catch somebody out, they can burn them down.
Right, then you start dropping some of these wards as we see Wiggly get sniped out. Good dodge by Peek and Wolf, not getting taken by that Ash arrow, as I'm sure there would have been a lot of follow-up coming in for Team Gates, as now we see after the poke of Peek and Wolf starts landing, Fabi getting in on the action as well.
Strumpus barely gets out of that one with the Realm Warp. I thought that was kind of telegraphed, saying like, hey, I'm going to be standing right here. But it does last just long enough to get out. Bayano actually going to get caught out by Alorum, who comes in. He trades a kill for his life, but that's a tank for a support.
Not the best trade for Team Gates, as now Big God Jackals are going to start up onto this Baron buff. They have a lot of damage with Peek and Wolf being so fed. We'll see if they're able to actually secure it. Doesn't look like a huge contest is coming in from Team Gates, though. Slowly, Kha'Zix is getting in range, not able to get there in time as Big God Jackals pick up a basically uncontested Baron.
Yeah, that's what happens when you trade your tank's life for the support. Still a 4v4 situation, but your front line is completely gone. And at the same exact time, Maokai, who was in the bottom lane, teleports into that fight afterwards, secured the tower in the bot lane as well.
All right, we'll take another look at this fight as we see it start off with Vex trying to shoot an arrow out there. Would have been a good attempt because they had not done a good job clearing vision. That ward in the pixel brush had been there the entire time. Almost leads to a pick off, but not quite. And then we see Peek and Wolf punishing Team Gates for trying to even go for it. They're getting poked out really hard. The last shot by Fabi going wide, and then Alorum trying to finish off Bayano, who got stuck in the pit by the aggro Baron. He got pretty low. Alorum trades his life away, and that's all they need to get the kill.
So that's going to result in Big God's Jackals taking the fight, taking the Baron.
You said they liked Ocean Drakes, Tom. Why not another one?
They're getting 3. Or they can get 3. They're not going to go for it right now. They still have the Baron buff on them, so they may wind up pushing up these waves first.
It's definitely something I don't hate when teams ignore the Dragon. That doesn't really help them a ton when they can use the Baron buff to try and get more objectives on the map. So I'm fine with not forcing the Baron or Dragon. If they want to get the Dragon as well, that's okay.
They can do that while pushing up waves, though, because Team Gates not a lot of action going on their side of the map. They do have Fabi in the middle lane pushing up that side of the map. Last elemental Drake of the game is going to go over to Big God's Jackals. That's 5-0, with Elder Dragon being the next one to spawn. Although with the Baron buff on them, who knows if we'll see the Elder Dragon in this game.
Most likely not. By how this is going, they need to last another 5 minutes now, and Big God Jackals are pushing up the mid lane. They don't have any creeps. Looks like they're just going to try and tank it up by themselves. They don't do as much damage as I think they thought they did.
Especially not with any minions nearby. So that tower is slowly but surely going to go down the amount of time it takes the minions to get there. Although now they have a fresh batch of Baron buff minions to
And
tank up the
thank God they got that last Ocean Drake, Tom. Now they can sustain up, as we see Biono trying to start opening up onto Strumpus. I actually like that as just as a distraction, so they're able to grab the turret. They cracked the base. They're onto the middle inhibitor now. It doesn't look like Team Gates is going to step up to try and stop them. But the arrow does come in, snipes out Wiggly.
Yeah, so the fight, and it looks like it makes immense. Team Gates trying to defend their base and their inhibitor. The knockup goes onto RF Legendary from that depth charge, and he's actually dropping low. Wiggly as well. Odd Orange about half HP in the backlines. Might wants to get a reset. RF Legendary's gone down. Biono's going to be next as Vex picks up that kill. There's a Realm War cutting people off. They sandwich Peek and Woof. He's going to get shut down, and Team Gates lose 2 towers, pick up 3 kills.
I mean, they got to be pretty happy with that one. They are able to defend the inhibitor, I believe. Did not drop in that.
Inhibitor's still alive.
Not the worst base defense you could hope for. Still down about 8K. It's going to be hard to continue to make the comeback, though they are going to be able to grab this mid lane outer turret finally.
Their investment goal is finally starting to pay off. The remaining outer towers on the map, the first one will go down as they close that once 8,000 gold gap now into a 7,000 gold gap or so. And that's actually stifling Big God's Jackals and their opportunity to push. They only have 2 Baron buffs left on some of the members of their teams, and that stalled out their push.
Right, and we see that the Ash Arrow comes in, hits Wiggly, and the team of Big God Jackals just doesn't really have anyone to hit here. They're trying to get onto Alorum a little bit. Fabi flashes out. He's knocked up far away from the fight. Peek and Wolf did his best to try and get involved there, but it was a really good job frontlining by Alorum, setting his team up to be able to get damage on while he himself didn't take a ton of damage. So a pretty well-fought defense by Team Gates, but the problem is 2 of their inhibitor turrets are still down. Big God Jackals are still very far ahead, so if they want to just walk up and contest these, they really don't need the Baron buff that much.
And Corki now, with his package available, can potentially make something happen inside the base of Team Gates. We mentioned 2 of those inhibitor towers already down, and although their base is safe, their jungle is a dark and scary place. Not a lot of vision control, as a lot of that has been cleared out by Big God's Jackals. They had the Baron buff previously, so they are going to still have that slight advantage in vision control on the bottom side and the top side of the map.
Well, luckily there's no neutral objectives for Team Gates to really need to venture out to defend, so they are going to have to try their best to stop these inhibitors from going down. Could be a little difficult, as we see now Big God Jackals grouping up. The Corki package used defensively there. Would have been nice to see him hold on to that a little longer, assuming it wasn't about to time out. Big God Jackals forcing down both the mid and top lane simultaneously.
And this is just a little bit of a close quarters 4-1 as RF Legendary is on one side, the rest of his team just a hop, skip, and a twisted advance away as they are continuing to just apply pressure into this base of Team Gates. Team Gates was able to find a fight last time off the decent Ash Arrow, and the one here is going to wind up landing on Wiggly again. Oh, but the dredge line gets blocked out by the Voidlings. Alorum cannot follow up with that chain of CC, and that means now Fabi is going to open up his curtain call, zone away Team Gates from their own inhibitor. Vex has been dropped to about half HP, as has the inhibitor. The Redemption's going to get used up though, but Team Gates, they're charging in. Alorum caught on to Biono, but now he's going to get turned around on by the Nethergrass. He's tanky, but he's still taking damage. He's going to get his Guardian Angel popped. Actually, he goes down. No Guardian Angel available. Maokai's going to fall as well, so it's been a tank-for-tank trade so far. Bottom lane, though, the minions for Big God's Jackals, the 6th man on the squad, take down that inhibitor tower.
The banner of command paying off big time there, Tom. Able to take the bottom inhibitor turret by itself, but Big God Jackals still haven't got an actual inhibitor.
Nope.
And I gotta say, our Legendary did not do the best job tanking that team fight. He came from the flank, but didn't actually set the team up for anyone to follow up after Alorum went down. So not the best team fight, despite the fact that it started off pretty well. And here we see, it starts out with Fabi trying to stop the rest of Team Gates to come in and stop this rotation. Alorum goes in, gets an ult on the Peek and Wolf, who's not really under too much threat because Odd Orange is afraid to go in. And then here we see Alorum get focused down, which is great, but RF Legendary is getting focused as well. And he just goes down for free, essentially.
Yeah, on the backside of that fight, both of the tanks, well, doing exactly what they need to do as tanks, which is soak up damage, but they soaked up too much damage as both of them wound up going down. And as you mentioned, Big God's Jackals with the advantage in that fight, being the ones to turn around the initial miss of engage off of the Ash Arrow, should have been able to clean up that fight, but a little bit of a disjointed team fight from their side results in Team Gates being able to hang on. And Team Gates showed fortitude like this in their first week against Delta Fox. Ooh, never mind. Deathfire Touch.
Deathfire Touch comes in as Fabi is able to get the kill onto Odd Orange. Baron spawning in just a couple seconds, so the fact that Team Gates loses their jungler is probably not going to be able to contest this.
Should be a pretty free Baron for Big God's Jackals. I don't think Team Gates really wants to contest this one. The Baron buff is going to go over to Big God's Jackals. They're going to have that. There's the dead Kha'Zix carcass. They're going to have that one to push up into the lanes. They're going to have that one to contest the Elder Dragon, which coincidentally is now spawning.
Right, and just to follow up a little bit on that point I was making about RF Legendary's tanking, he used his Twisted Dance to get into the fight, when he could have just walked in, got a Q off, disrupt the carries, and then W to the other tank that his team is focusing. The fact that he Twisted Advances onto a carry who wants to hit him anyway, he's not really making the most use of it. As we see another team fight breaking out.
Yeah, Team Gates, they want to contest. They don't want a 5-stack Dragon going over as Vex gets locked up by the Biano Nethergrass, but Strompus picks up a kill on the RF Legendary. Their tank is down. Wiggly taking a lot of damage. He winds up having to be chased out of that, and this is Team Gates. Well, okay, Fabi is not Shine On, but this is Team Gates as the Odd Orange has respawn, comes over the wall. They take the Elder Dragon for themselves. They don't have any Elemental Dragons for themselves, but they've denied a key objective from Big God's Jackals and wasted a lot of Baron time.
We'll have to see how Big God Jackals choose to use their Baron buff now. There are no inhibitor turrets up, but they are fighting an empowered foe in Team Gates with the Elder Dragon burn. So it might be a little scary given the fact that they haven't actually been able to win team fights decisively before the enemy team had a buff.
Well, this is Team Gates trying to contest this in a 4v5 situation. The Elder Dragon does deal a decent amount of damage, and everybody just kind of piling onto RF Legendary. Between these two tanky front lanes, RF Legendary is surprisingly squishy as Alorum is tanking up way more damage than he is.
Right, and after he's able to basically go untouched in that fight, Alorum turns back onto the Elder Dragon, able to help them burn this one down as Team Gates surprisingly winning a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, and this is reminiscent, I said, week 1 against Delta Fox. Team Gates held on for a very extended period of time. A bad Baron fight is what threw it for Delta Fox. Delta Fox won it at an Elder Dragon fight about 40-something minutes into the game. Go figure, it's a Delta Fox game. 40-something minutes.
Right.
This time around, it's Team Gates taking an Elder Dragon. They don't have the Elemental Drakes for themselves, but the aspect of the Dragon Burn is additional damage that they were lacking due to a gold disadvantage. They've kind of closed this gap to about a 7,000 gold split. It's been that way for a little while, ever slowly decreasing. Was 10K, 8K, 7.5, now 7.
And like we were mentioning before, eventually that gold lead stops mattering. It's not quite at that point yet, as no one is at a full 6 items. But the longer the game goes, we talk about how Team Gates probably has a stronger team comp. We're seeing that they're able to win team fights with it. If they ever catch up in gold, then they might be actually able to take their first game here.
Yeah, and Team Gates holding on by the skin of their aspect of the dragon, skin of their teeth. 9 kills to 11, still down in the gold count. Still a lot of towers on the map. They're down 9 to 2. So basically every single tower on the map, except for their Nexus towers, has gone down. Every single inhibitor is exposed. Big God's Jackals, as a unit of 5, are grouping up in this top lane. Baron buff is still on for them, so they can utilize this for just a little bit of time, maybe 20, 30 seconds or so. This could be one of 2 remaining waves left. The Team Gates, can they hold on to their inhibitor? Aspect of the Dragon burning away through some of these minions. A couple of pot shots coming out from a bannered up cannon minion and his buddy, Frank the Tank, and his son, Frank Jr. Wailing away on there as a curtain call from Fabi will provide cover fire. That inhibitor does wind up going down, so Big God's Jackals finally getting an inhibitor.
Finally, and now they're going to try and move around the map, get even more of them. Team Gates Elder Dragon buff has worn off. Big God Jackals going to actually go for a reset instead of rotating mid. They do have the top wave pushing for them now on their own. The Banner of Command will be off cooldown soon. Maybe RF Legendary decides to go into the bot lane to get that one going, because we saw it was actually pretty effective for taking the bottom inhibitor turret by itself. We'll see if it can grab an inhibitor.
We'll have to see, because RF Legendary's split push potential has been fairly high this game, although his team fight impact has not been equally as impactful as his counterpart in Alorum. Both of those tanks have kind of just gone head-to-head in these split-pushy kind of team fights. We are at the late-game Rise damage point, where I think the best way to describe it is stupid Rise damage. Ashe himself, or herself, has picked up an almost completed item build, just needing to upgrade the QSS that they've acquired for them, Malzahar Ultimate, into a Mercurial Scimitar for herself. Last Whisper has been picked up as the final item that can penetrate armor for the side of Fabi's Jhin. I guess you could get a Black Cleaver, but he already has the Infinity Edge. He's almost full build. And like you mentioned, these gold leads that Big God's Jackals have had this entire game, as these 5-6 item builds are finally being completed, start meaning less and less.
Right, and we see on the side of Big God Jackals that Peakwolf really doesn't have any kind of armor penetration or even magic penetration. So Alarim, with his 3 armor items completed now, is very, very tanky against these auto attacks. And it is 50-50 damage, but that's still 50% of your damage getting reduced by a lot. So overall, it's very hard for Big God Jackals to punch through the Nautilus here.
You normally see Corky's going for a Void Staff to back up those Sorcery Shoes or some sort of magic penetration item to wind up punching through a little bit of extra damage on all those rockets. And a Flash Wave from Fabi off of that Enchanted Crystal Arrows. The Astral has not landed, but they burn the Summoner Spawn to the AD carry. Peekaboo uses the package once again, kind of draws the line in the sand, and this is where the fight's going to begin. Curtain Call is out from Fabi. Alorum's taking up as many shots as he can. Odd Orange winds up taking the 3rd one. One more shot from Fabi. Where's it going to land? Doesn't. Oh, there it goes. Right through into the front line. Strumpus takes a brunt of that damage as he and Vincent get chunked down to about below half. Big God's Jackals, they're trying to lay the siege. They do have super minions slowly pushing into that top lane. Minions in the mid lane are also kind of accruing, so they may eventually attrition this down.
And they have the triple Ocean Dragon to sustain themselves, so there's no need to force that hard around here. Wait for that top wave to come in. Let those super minions do their job. And you guys just chill up. Chill out, heal up. Excuse me, combine those two. Chill up.
Chill up, heal out.
Yeah.
Power of the ocean.
You see, Alarim's doing a good job forcing them away, but now these super creeps are going to start threatening these Nexus turrets. Team Gate is going to have to respond and start falling back, which is the perfect time for a Big God Jackals to start walking forward. Some good chunk on the Vex.
Yeah, he gets chunked out there. Does have to dodge away from the Deadly Flourish. The Jhin crit is swirling. The depth charge has gone out. However, now Alorum is in the backline. They catch on the peek and whoop, but Alorum winds up getting knocked up. His health bars dropping fairly low. Vex not able to provide DPS as he is in the backline, getting chunked down by these Corky rockets. Now
More
Big
auto
God Jackals, are they going to get the last hit? They will. The inhibitor falls down. Team Gates can only watch as Big God Jackals exits their base.
And Baron has respawned now. The bot lane inhibitor dropping means that there's going to be constant pressure there. We just see the banner of command being used by RF Legendary here. So they're going to have a lot of pressure on the bottom of the map that Team Gates is going to have to deal with. It's going to be very hard for them to do anything about the Baron that I'm sure they're about to pressure as soon as they get all their resets off.
Well, Enchanted Crystal Arrow being used right there. Peekaboo just Valkyring out of the way of that one. Not the longest cooldown in the world, about 70-something seconds left on that for Ashe, but with the Baron available right now, it means Team Gates is not going to have that to contest or start it up for themselves.
I mean, I don't hate the idea of this force. You need to do something. You're losing the game, so they're going to try and get a team fight win by baiting the Baron and turning off it. Things are going okay for them, but we see Peekaboo getting a lot of poke down onto the carries.
Now Fabi's joining the fight. The Curtain Call is landing on the Strumpus. He's a lot of their damage. He does wind up using the Saris Embrace Shield to try to stay alive. Looks like that the front line is taking a lot of damage from Big God Jackals and Team Gate. Finally, Strumpus goes down. That's a big carry threat. Odd Orange wind up having his Guardian Angel popped as well. Vincent will get followed over by RF Legendary, and Alorum in the backline trying to do something. Eats a honey fruit, but winds up going down. Fabi picks up another kill. That is a 1, 2, 3 for none. Odd Orange tries to go in, tries to take down Peekaboo, but he will die. And that will all but seal the deal.
It's too late anyways, as the minions have been doing work on the base. Both Nexus turrets have been taken. The Nexus is exposed, and this is going to be a win for Big God Jackals.
44 minutes into the game, Big God Jackals, despite having all those advantages early on, despite being in control the entire game, take a very long time to close that one out.
Right, you think once they took those Nexus or inhibitor turrets down, excuse me, they got those very early on, 27 minutes into the game, I believe is when they dropped the first one. And after that, you think it'd be pretty easy. They have great champions for taking inhibitors, but it took a very long time. Every time they got set up outside one, they would lose a team fight or something like that. When they got Barons, they'd lose an Elder Dragon fight. It was a not very clean game overall.
No, and they got a lot of advantages, especially early on, off the back of a lot of these peak and wolf kills in team fights. There's a team fight extremely early. It was probably around like 15 or so minutes where the Ash Arrow gets used and Pika was able to kind of come in and clean things up, and it looked like it was going to be a repeat of game number 1.
Well, this is kind of what we were hoping to see more out of Team Gates. This was a very aggressive play, and it was a smart play to go for, too, I think. If the Ash Arrow hits on the Fabi, you chain CC and kill him. Ultimately, they have to switch targets onto the Malzahar. They were able to pick him up. Kha'Zix got cut off in the river, so it looks like it's going to be 1 kill for 1 right away. But the overextension onto RF Legendary, wanting to pick him up, leaves them all under turret and getting poked away by Pika Wolf. He's able to grab 1 kill there before Valkyrieing in, finishing off Vincent. And then he keeps chasing forward. Alarum goes to try and turn this kill, but we talked about it a couple times. The level up's going in favor of Big God Jackals here. Gets super low, flashes in for the last auto attack, and then levels up. Just barely able to survive. The corrupting pop burn, not able to finish him off.
And that's a little unlucky for the side of Team Gates, but we saw him get a triple kill right there. So I'd like to welcome Big's man in the mid lane, Peek, move to the broadcast. How's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah, you guys wound up taking the 2-0 against Team Gates. I mean, it seemed to be a little bit harder in game number 2. Like, how did you guys feel overall about that series?
It was definitely harder. I mean, game 1 was super clean, and all of our engages later on were also a lot better. This game probably could have cleaned up a few things and probably ended the game a lot faster, but at least I think that we were pretty solid, just maybe speeding things up a bit.
And so talk to me a little bit about the Corki pick that you used in this game. I think you've always been known in the Challenger scene as someone who seems to like poke champions, played a lot of Xerath back in the day. Is Corki just what you think is the best poke champion available in the current meta, or is it just what worked well with this team comp?
I kind of like Corki into Rise because it's really safe, and then for Teamfight, Rise is kind of like a short range, and that's what I like for Cassiopeia. She's really strong against him because you need to walk into her as Rise, and then it's really hard to duel her. So with Corki, you're allowed to like poke maybe before a teamfight happens, and then Corki just overall, I think he's one of the only poke champions out there right now for mid lane, and he's just overall strong because of his itemization and super safe laning.
You guys wound up taking a 2-0 here today over Team Gates. I don't know if you saw before, but United was able to take a 2-0 over Delta Fox. So that means that you guys in United have kind of jumped up from that middle like slot on the table to the top of the NACS standings. I mean, about halfway through the series right now, who do you think is going to be like the biggest competition as we're going into the second half and into playoffs?
Well, so far, what I've seen is just everyone keeps on 1-1ing each other, and then eventually the players will 2-0 Gates. So whoever, I guess, doesn't win versus Gates is probably going to not be able to catch back up because so far everybody's tying. So our next competition, if everyone keeps tying, it's going to be like just everyone in first, like a 5-way tie for first.
Are there any teams specifically that you maybe not are so much afraid of, but you really want to face up against?
So when I go against, I think United, it's going to be fun because the coach is Broken Shard and he was my past coach. So that's going to be really exciting, you know, going against a former coach.
Yeah, hopefully get to beat him up a little bit, show that you're on the better team now.
We'll have to wait and see for that one. Peek Wolf, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the 2-0.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, and with tonight's matches complete, let's see how the rest of the league stands, because things today have gotten shaken up. It's now Big God Jackals, E United, and Tempo Storm all sharing the top spot with 1 win and 2 draws. They are followed closely by Delta Fox in 4th place and Gold Coin United in 5th. And of course, that means with Team Gates losing 0-2 against Big God Jackals, they are last in the league.
Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting day because it's the first time that we saw a 2-0 that did not involve Team Gates, E United being able to grab that one. So they got to be pretty happy about that. They are tied up at the top of the league, but they have a chance to keep moving forward as they play more teams because I don't think they've played Team Gates yet.
They have not yet, so we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. If they 2-0, could be good. But if you guys are hungry for more league action, of course, tune into the NALCS on Friday, where Cloud9 will face off against Team Liquid in the first series, and then they'll be followed by Immortals as they do battle against Team Dignitas.
It's going to be a great day for World Sim League of Legends. Team Liquid has been struggling. They really need to turn around, but it's going to be hard to do against Cloud9, who has been dominant the entire time. And that's really the big match that I'm looking forward to on Friday.
Yeah, so that's going to be it from us tonight. So for myself, Mark, and the entire Challenger broadcast crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. I did it!
Don't talk. Don't talk. Ooh, Laura might go for the solo kill into RF
Gets
Legendary.
aggressive.
Still got no
Uses the
flash.
depth charge. As soon as he hits level 6, RF Legendary has yet to hit that himself. Dredgeline comes out underneath the tower. RF Legendary is going to lock him with the Twisted Advance. Alarm, can he get a trade kill? The knockup from Rek'Sai denies him that. As soon as the Dragon went down, there's a flash forward and the Chain of Corrupt, the Nethergrass going down on the Biana, but it's immediately stopped up. But RF Legendary is getting locked up, and he will go down for a double kill over to Strumpus. The curtain call is out. The last shots will fall, and a double kill goes over to Corki. Both mid laners picking up all the kills. There's a triple kill comes in for Pekin Woof, and he's actually dropping low. Wiggly as well. Odd Orange about half HP in the backlines. Maybe wants to get a reset. RF Legendary's gone down. Biano's going to be next as Vex picks up that kill. There's a Realm War cutting people off. They sandwich Pekin Woof. Finally, Strumpus goes down. That's a big carry tonight. Odd Orange wind up having his Guardian Angel popped as well. Vincent will get followed over by RF Legendary, and Alorum in the backlines trying to do something. Eats the honey fruit, but winds going down.